who would go into a bar and intentionally start fights just to prove how
Not
tough they
the
were or who
boys.
loved
No,
it?
no, no. No, not the. No, I ain't talking about the wrestlers. I'm talking about we go in, and they become always a couple of smart asses sitting over here drinking and think they 20 foot tall or whatever. And it was funny because I was the littlest one, and I'd always think, and they'd always come over and mess with the big guys. I'd think, well, if I was going to pick somebody, it'd be the little blonde-haired fella. It wouldn't be Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I'll give you a story. I was with Hacksaw Jim Duggan one night. I had went in for the weekend for once. So anyway, we was out wherever Gillies is. We'd wrestled somewhere. We was going through town. We seen Gillies, and of course, it was back when it was hot. I mean, it was so slap out. So Duggan said, "You want to get a beer?" I said, "Yeah," because back then that was my cup of tea. And so anyway, so we stopped and going. He said, and it was. I mean, if you got 5 foot apart, you couldn't find each other. That's how full it was. And so anyway, he said, you got to you'll hit the restroom before So anyway, we go in the restroom, right? Well, there's a little stall. I walk in that little stall, and then they got a tree. And Duggan looked over at me. He said, "Watch this." He said, "Before we get out of here, I'll have to knock somebody's going to want to fight me, and I'll have to knock them out." I thought, Jim, I don't hardly see that coming. I said, because if I'm one of the rednecks, I'm going to pick me and hope you stay out of it. Sure enough, we're standing there. Old boy walked in that bathroom, looked up at Jim Duggan, and he was, he had to look up at him. He said, "Ooh, you sure are a big, ugly motherfucker." Duggan said, looked at me, and he said, "What'd I tell you?" And Duggan looked at him, he said, "What'd you say?" He said, "You sure are a big, ugly." Before he got that last word out, Duggan hit him, knocked him out. He was laying in that floor in the pee and whatever else was in there. Duggan said, "Well, I guess we better get out of here." So we both stepped over him and we got in the car and never got a beer. Yeah. But it's them stories that are good.
If you had to walk into a bar with like the roughest, toughest bar with any 3 wrestlers of your era to look after you, who would be the 3 that were just the toughest guys?
Shit. There wasn't many of them back then that wasn't tough. I'll put it this way. I wouldn't want to been on the other side of the bar and had to fight any of them, to be honest, because they would get in the ring. Well, back then it was a work, but they wanted people to believe, and they get their jollies beating each other up, who could take the hardest or whatever. They were tough men.